Okay, so I guess what I'm asking, like, let's just say, I mean, we'll just take one, like, say, I'm trying to think of the best way to do this. Um, the most attractive women, I don't know what you like, but let's just say Eastern European women, whatever. Amongst that, do you think you have a better chance with more attractive women the higher status you have? And the second question was, what does status mean? Let's include all things that we could find as attraction triggers. And if you want to look at what those attraction triggers are, you can read The Evolution of Desire, where all those different things.
Yeah, I mean, I have to agree with you, but you've like tautologically defined it as such. You're asking me basically, do you have a higher chance with somebody who, if you possess the characteristic that gives you a higher chance with them? That's what we're asking, right?
Yes.
And the really interesting, the interesting question is, what do we mean by status? That's the interesting question. Yeah.
It's culturally relevant.
This goes all the way back to evolutionary psychology. You're saying, do you have a higher chance of getting with a woman if you have more things that woman wants? And the answer is yes. But why does a woman want those things? And the answer goes back to evolutionary psychology. We would find men with more, like, women do not want Arnold Schwarzenegger, but they want men who are more muscular than average. That would have aided in survival. So things like that, that's the reason why we have those proclivities. Sorry, man, I'm off on a tangent, but that goes back to evolutionary psychology stuff. Go ahead, Matt, you were saying something?
Yeah, status is like, it's like localized. Whoever it is that you're trying to seduce is going to have an idea of what's going to bring her closer to all the people around her and make her more beloved. Like, that's what status really is. It's not a universal thing among humanity. It's, what do I think is going to elevate me? There's a certain set of characteristics that differs from place to place. Like you said, in Miami and San Francisco, it's going to be really different. But it's the same principle.
And I just want to add on sort of, so I'm going to post in the StreamYard chat. So it's just one study, and it hasn't been replicated, but just so as a caveat. But I would say this type of research I would say runs against sort of the Evo Psych research, where this is a study across 10 nations, and it's correlated, or rather they see as no association as pretty much there's more gender equality in these nations. The preferences for mates also changes, and there's a preference for more egalitarian relationships. If you want the full study, you message me in Discord, and I'll send you the full study. But I'll also say it's one study, hasn't been replicated, but there is some research that counters the narrative.
I don't have this study in front of me, but I have heard of one where women in Norway and Sweden, where they were the areas were more egalitarian, those women wanted a more masculine man to take charge. Maybe I'm being very reductive in it, or I'm simplifying it, but that's a study that I also heard. So I don't know.
Well, so that's where it gets into like sort of, because the narrative that I hear is like whatever, women securing resources, and like, so it doesn't. It's not necessarily a one-to-one of like, just because they prefer masculinity, that therefore like it's correlated with like resources, as in it's almost like a misfiring, where it's like, more masculine men don't necessarily always have more resources.
It's all the different attributes. So for men, we kind of have a number. Dr. Buss and Cindy Meston wrote a book called Why Women Have Sex, and they said if we wrote a book called Why Men Have Sex, it would be a pamphlet. It's like men have sex for a very small number of reasons compared to the reasons why women have sex. They identify 237 reasons why women choose to have sex with men, whereas like there's like 4 or 5 for men. And so because of that deviation, there's several different things, not just money. I had this discussion with Jamie Lynch. She's a therapist here in Las Vegas, and she was like, there's women out there who date men who make less than them, that are male strippers, blah blah blah. And so hypergamy isn't real. And it was like, no, you think hypergamy is just money. Other people think hypergamy is just height. Other people, hypergamy is just Instagram followers. And the answer is it's an amalgamation of all of it.
Well, so that's where it's almost like I can't argue against that, because it's pretty much everything's going to boil down to status at some level, where pretty much like every preference is just going to seem to boil down to status. At least that's what I could just be misunderstanding you.
Well, could it be this, Corey? Could it be this, Corey, that the reason why we identify those things as status is because the opposite sex finds it attractive? Like one of the things I love this from evolutionary psychology is the concept that Homo sapiens are the only species where the men and women choose the arena upon which the opposite gender combats. So men compete with other men for access to women based on the status markers that women find attractive, and women compete with other women based on the thing. That's why you see some women in Miami getting bigger butts, right? Or
wait, why is that? That's something don't most species do that? Don't all species do that?
So no, because in some species, like for instance with the peahens and the peacocks, It's just one side choosing the other side's arena, but it's not both sides. Does that make sense?
Oh, both sides. Okay.
So look, what I mean by that is an elephant bull seal must kill another elephant bull seal. So the arena is derived by the women, but it's not the other way around. Like the women don't compete with each other for the elephant bull seal because he has sex with all of them. Sorry, I'm getting way off. I apologize. Like, home
no,
you guys
you
talk
apologize
more.
for it.
I apologize.
But so then I'm curious, like, so maybe just to like, distill it down and like ground your, make explicitly clear position. As in, do you think when it comes to whatever dynamics in terms of like mate selection, it all boils down to like status, as in every single like mate selection just at its core? Okay.
No, because I agree with what Destiny says too. If a guy has the desire to go out there, like for instance, I'll give you an example. This is, by the way, this is not scientific. This is just my saying. It is more alpha to be there than to not be there. And one of the examples I give, it's just one anecdotal example, or it's just one example, is the number of men when they got back from World War II after being gone for 15 months, 2 years, 4 years in some cases. The number of them that had to file for divorce was outrageously high because they just weren't around. Being around women in like, I think Destiny, you say warm, comfy places. I stole that and I use that in my course now. You said, was that what you said, Destiny? Warm, comfy places or something like that?
Warm places. I stole it from Kyla Aerodiving. Yeah.
Was it warm? Yeah. So men going to more, so meaning creating better logistics is a phenomenal way to get laid on a regular basis. If you were Hugh Hefner's friend and got invited to the Playboy Mansion every week, you're just going to get laid more. But that access is a form of status. Like, Corey, when you come to Vegas, I'm going to take you on stage at Access. When we're up there, you're going to notice that every girl there is just fucking nice to you because she's like, how the fuck did this guy get up here? And so she assumes status on you. And so because of that, you just have a better chance. Does that make sense?
Yeah, status is one of the things that goes into the attraction formula. I think when you said, Corey, is it just status that factors into it? It sounded like you were just kind of reducing all of attraction down to status, which is, I mean, if you verbally wanted to put it that way, you could put it that way. But when we think about status, when we define it in terms of like, how elevated are you? How able are you to exercise power in your local social group and everything? I think that's just one element. There are a lot of guys who are really low status but physically attractive. There are a lot of guys who are like in prison. It's hard to get lower status than that, but there are women writing them love letters. There's other elements that I would put outside of status that go into attraction that determine what is being chosen. That is, I mean, I feel like I'm not sure how far we've got off the topic. It's like it keeps saying, "Is Evo Psych legit?" at the bottom of the screen. Are we still there?
No, we move on. We moved on because we kind of came to consensus. But I want to.
So
go ahead.
Go ahead.
Thanks. Yeah. So for Evo, is Evo Psych legit? It's like I think Evo Psych would say that there are certain things that appear as attractive. Status is one of them. Like height is one of them. Like physical symmetry is one of them. Muscularity is one of them. These things are, that's what I'm trying as hard as I can to write into my charts that I do. I'm trying to put these things into what is it that like sexually arouses women and what is it that makes them view you as a long-term partner. I think status is just one of these things, and then there's a bunch of other things that can stimulate physical attraction for women to want to engage in like pregnancy type behavior.